Welcome back, everybody. Bloodless Knight here to showcase you another World of Tanks video with a tank that is hardly seen these days, just because it's still simply one of the most hardest tanks to play at Tier 8. And that is the Tier 8 Tech Tree French heavy tank, the AMX 65T. Now, this has always been a very difficult tank to play, just for its performance-wise. It's been one of the worst ones ever. Its cupola is extremely tall, very easy to hit and pen, especially for how tall a tank you are, with not so great of a gun depression. You're not great at hill battles, and with this is the top turret. As you can see, that is not a very good angle. It easily gets penned by everything, even gold rounds, for a matchup like this, where I'm against tier 10s in this match. Now, we're about to see something amazing that I've done with the AMX 65T, something I've never done before, but this is all thanks in part of the buff the AMX 65T has received back in April of last year in patch 1.22. Leopard shows up. Ooh, that's good. Now, as you can tell, I am using the 120mm, which is the top gun for the tank, and back in the day, it was not the top gun before. Simply because this turret was much worse, much easier to pen. I did not get the 166 there. And then in situations like that, where I get hit in the side because there's no armor on the side. It's less than 100mm. Top of that, with its frontal hull armor being only 120mm in the upper glacis, it gets penned by everything. It is not a tank that's meant to go out in the front to face tank anyone. You easily get penned and destroyed. And with the turret being also as bad, where even tier 8s with gold rounds penned it, no problem. You just tend to use the stock turret, which is the AMX M449. Both have the same frontal armor, but it's just the profile of the stock turret was much better. Made it a lot harder for them to pin you, and you can pop your head around corners and above hills and not get shot by your cupola being so tall. So that was the issue with the AMX 65T. So now here we are, I'm sitting in this town going against a platoon of IS-7s that are sitting right there that rushed on this side. So I'm thinking, what do? We lost it with ISM, and the mouse is fighting, so I pop up and, hey, no, don't get that error. Now, what did they do with the AMX 65T? In April, when they buffed it, they did a few changes. So why am I stuck with this turret now using the 120 when I said the stock turret with the 100mm, which is the preferred one using back then? Why am I not using that? Well, one of the buffs they did with this is they did improve the standard shell pen, which that was perfect timing to showcase that they did improve it. They buffed it up to 225mm. A slight buff by only 7, but it does make it to where I can pen the lower plate of the IS-7 like that. Much relatively easy, whereas before I had no choice. Even right there on the side of the IS-7, I had no choice but to fire gold with this gun. It was just that much worse. Not to mention, they also improved the reload time of this gun, albeit only by half a second, but that half a second really helps by making the 120 edge out above the 100mm. Now, the sad part about that is, since now the 120 is slightly better than the 100, well, you're stuck forced using this turret just because the 100mm, you can't use the 120 with the stock turret. So that's the sad part. You have to be unable to win beauty pageants and be more susceptible to getting penned with this turret. So already at 1,956 damage with 1,700 assist by tracking tanks, and going against IS-7s. So we're trying to trade there, and the AA Phase 1 is just basically messing with us. And this is the part that's difficult. I'm against the IS-7s, but this 120 really pays out and helps. Now, I did have to switch to gold rounds. The gold rounds, they didn't touch the gold rounds. It's still only 252mm of pen. Average for a tier 8 penetration. And then, of course, I got the Arty on me. But it is making it to where I can actually be a menace to the IS-7s. However, I could not stick my head out here, because even then, I'm still an AMX 65T. I get easily penned by everything. So you have to take in the note of that consideration. You're just a tank with no armor. You're a heavy tank with no armor. But now you have a much bigger gun, since it just works better. E100 comes out. There goes the IS-7. Pop out, and try to get a shot. He's still using both the tanks, and this is where the ES7, or E100, excuse me, ES7, pops out, gives me the shot to the IS-7 to finish him off. Sadly, he does not make it here, as there's the 50 TP right behind him. Does get one more shot off, at least. Now, with that, I did lose the mouse and the T-110A3 behind me, so I had to back off. There goes the E-100. And now I'm backing off to utilize what could I do here, because I am all on my own in this corner. Thankfully, the rest of my team did win the other flank. Now, other aspects to AMX65T that they did give a buff, they increased the view range by 10 meters, so now it sees a little better. And the whole traverse speed by 1 degree. Even though it's 1 degree, that does help with heavy tanks quite massively, as they usually tend to turn slow. The other thing they also did, which I'll have to pause and show you this, they buffed the upper glacis plate's effective armor. So what that is that no, the upper plate here has not been buffed. It's still 120 millimeters. It's just now when utilizing the angle in your gun depression, the effective armor has been buffed to be much better, buffing it to have an effective armor of 220 millimeters. Now, again, that is still not a great thing, because you're most likely seeing them like this. And yeah, you can still easily pen this, especially when you see it like this way and see it flat. So it's effective armor, but it's very hard to get this thing utilized, especially when its gun depression is not at 10, it's about 8. And you're just ridiculously tall. Not to mention with your almost flat turret, they'll just load gold and shoot it. They don't even have to aim at your cupola. That has always been the problem with the AMX65T. But all these buffs, again, did help this tank quite massively with this gun. So you see, I'm already at 2,400 damage. Much better than I was doing the 100mm, because this gun's average damage, which is the 120, is 400. 100 more damage than the 100mm, which was, again, the preferred way of playing this tank. WZ is now taken out, now moving in to help finish off, as we are just massively winning. There goes the Pantera, and I'm sneaking up behind the 50 TP. And right there, again, he hits me right here. 220, and not much. Now I get the back end of the T-110A4, take another shot there, 434 damage. The 100 average damage increase is much more suited. And there I go, finish up T-110A4. Coming up to a final end of 3,411 damage, 2,000 assists from tracking them, and a few spotting right there. But with that, this was a short match. It was only 6 minutes long. So apologies if I went too fast on explaining the buffs of this tank and also trying to choreograph. It's really hard to do that in 6 minutes. But hopefully I did cover it to explain about the AMX65T, that now you can actually play it. Albeit you're, again, not going to win any beauty pageants anymore. You're just not. You're stuck with this very, very ugly turret, which, by the way, if you get to the tier 9, the AMX M451, this is the stock turret. But you have the stock gun. So all you got to do is just get the upgraded turret, and the AMX M451, you're already there at top notch of what that thing is. But you have to get rid of this turret. Because again, this turret gets easily penned by everything. 220 millimeters in the turret, or 240, I believe it is. You still get penned by gold rounds. So with these buffs, when the buff came out, I didn't have the tank, and I was happy to get it back and try it out. And this matchup proved that this is what this tank can do now. It is much, much, much more improved than what it was when we were all stuck with the 100mm. Again, I don't like the fact that we are now forced with this turret. But trust me, as you see with this match, against tier 10s, we can now fully upgrade the AMX65T and play it properly. And with that, here are the results of the match. This is truly my first ace tanker I have received with this tank. Because again, it has been a very, very hard tank to play, even back in the day before the buffs, where I used the stock turret and used a 100mm, because that was the better way to play this tank. But now with that 120 being better, slightly better, you can just reach up to this. Excuse me, by the way. You can reach up to this. I mean, it's just a lot better. All around, a lot better. Ace tanker, 3,411 damage, 2,049 assist. And ended up being on top of the board in a tier 10 match with the AMX65T. I've never done that in this tank before. So this was a first. Finally getting it back, trying out its buffs. Got the crew Brothers in Arms because I did accelerate his training. And this is the result. I am impressed that it is not much of a buff. Like, it does not seem much of a buff compared to what many other tanks during this time got, especially the Turtle Mark 1. It is not much of a buff at all. But just this slight buff, second in damage in the entire match. 1,394 base experience. Just shows how much better this tank has improved, even with just the slight buff it got. So hopefully you all get this tank back, or if you're about going through the French heavy tanks, you'll have a much better experience with this. Albeit you're definitely not winning a beauty pageant. So, but you're definitely going to have a much better experience with this and do very well with it. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know if you have the AMX65T still. Are you liking it a lot better with these buffs? Could they have done a little more? Or do you still think the tank is very terrible? Let me know down in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you hate it, and hit that subscribe button for more videos just like this one. Thank you all so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.